Welcome back to a new episode of Wheels of History. Before we dive into today's protagonist, we invite you to subscribe to the channel if you want to see more videos like this. It's a small gesture for you, but fundamental for us to continue sharing stories of men and machines that marked an era. Today we travel to Mandello del Lario and retrace the history of the last motorcycle designed by Carlo Guzzi the Lodola. It's the late 1950s, and Italy, still clinging to the need for economical vehicles, is beginning to crave something more. The wind of progress slips between the pistons. The desire grows for larger displacements, for performances that ignite the soul and make the frame vibrate. The 175 takes the lead, slender, agile, yet capable of whipping the asphalt with the ardor of a true sports bike. Some models even dare to challenge the traditional 250S and sometimes surpass them, while weighing and costing much less. Even in Mandello del Lario, the changing air is felt. One cannot remain anchored to the past while the future roars at the door. Thus was born the new 175 from Moto Guzzi, the last creation signed by Carlo Guzzi himself, but also the first to give up the hallmark horizontal cylinder, the trademark of his genius. The cylinder now rises inclined at 45 degrees like an athlete ready to sprint, yet inside still beats the heart of tradition. The bore-stroke ratio, 0.93, faithfully recalls the glorious 500 single cylinders. The engine runs backwards, paying homage to a primary transmission with double gears and direct drive gearbox. Lubrication remains dry-sump with a double pump and separate tank. And the distribution, loyal to the art of Mandello, uses an overhead camshaft with rockers actuated by the classic roller. Guzzi could not settle for the known. Thus, he introduced a mechanism worthy of a Swiss watchmaker, an intelligent system to regulate the tension of the timing chain. In light alloy engines, thermal expansion can unpredictably tighten or loosen the chain. Many manufacturers accept this fluctuation as inevitable. Guzzi did not. He conceived a tensioner linked to a movable lever that responds to thermal expansion by varying the anchoring point of a spring blade. A system that mechanically and gracefully compensates for heat excursions, keeping chain tension constant. A simple and brilliant insight, born from one who knows his craft as a poet knows his verse. To complete the work, there's a flyweight on the camshaft. It serves to regularize torque absorption and calm sudden tension spikes on the chain. No less refined is the intervention on the large helical gears of the primary transmission. The toothed gear is separated from the hub with elastic pins between the two. The result? A transmission that is quieter, smoother, almost musical. Delving deeper into the engine, one cannot overlook. It would be a disservice to analysis. A choice both singular and significant for its time, the adoption of an automotive-style dynamo driven by a trapezoidal belt, an anachronistic solution in an era when magnets flew and coaxial dynamos were popular among manufacturers. Yet this choice reflected a precise intent, to separate from the masses, to seek reliability where others preferred convenience. Equally noteworthy is the crankshaft construction. While the rest of the world relied on shafts pressed between flywheels, Mandello opted for a bolder, sturdier solution, slotted flywheels on the eye, embraced by an axle secured with two mighty bolts like keystones in an uncompromising architecture. This configuration with two generously sized internal flywheels also reduced the bulk of the classic external flywheel. The latter, though smaller, was not eliminated. It continued its duty, now housed more comfortably under the left cover, like an old soldier who, though demoted, maintains the discipline of the craft. Unlike the engine, where Carlo Guzzi's genius sought continuity with glorious tradition, the chassis department bent to the fashions of the time. The frame was a classic double cradle with a swinging arm and external springs with separate shock absorbers. A practical, modern solution, but far from the technical language that had until then distinguished Mandello's pride. When the new motorcycle was unveiled in 1956, the name did not disappoint expectations: Lodola. Once again, Moto Guzzi drew from the winged sky of ornithological fauna, as was the company's custom. From the heron to the falcon, the goshawk to the cockerel, the Lodola was meant to represent the fresh song of a new season. Yet the opening notes came out a little out of tune. 9 horsepower at 6,000 revolutions per minute, a top speed of 110 kilometers per hour. Not enough to make the public dream, who received the creation with a coldness difficult to digest. Some technical flaws in the first series contributed to dampening the enthusiasm. The response, as often happened in Mandello, was swift and proud. In the spring of 1958, at the Milan Trade Fair, then a true second motorcycle showcase, held in the monumental Palazzo dello Sport, the Lodola Sport was presented. Its character grew bolder. Compression rose to 9-1, the gearbox was lengthened, and the heart now beat with 11 horsepower, pushing the bike up to 120 kilometers per hour. The chassis was also updated with a larger central drum front brake, ready to confidently tame the new ardor. To give luster to the new model, a special version was prepared for use in regularity races, at the time highly contested and noble within the national racing scene. A machine designed solely for the company's champions, it retained a 4-speed gearbox and a wild yet tamed nature, ready to leap over ditches and devour dirt tracks. The closure of the racing department in 1957, a bitter page in Guzzi's history, freed human energy and top-tier expertise. Thus, under the patient and skillful guidance of Enrico Cantoni, some technicians poured themselves into this new frontier, enduro. The 1958 debut was more than an experiment, a promising introduction, the crowing of a rooster at the dawn of a new era. Yet even the Lodola Sport failed to win full public acclaim. Too timid for the sporting imagination, incapable of competing with other 175s dominating prestigious scenes like the Milano-Taranto or the Giro d'Italia. Too delicate in its overhead camshaft distribution in the eyes of an audience fond of simple, robust mechanics that could be repaired at home with makeshift tools. Meanwhile, the Aroni 250 had left production lines, leaving that segment dear to Guzzi enthusiasts unguarded. It was then that Carlo Guzzi, a man of ingenuity and pride, set to work, creating a new power plant, broader of chest but with a calmer heartbeat. A 235 cubic centimeter single cylinder with pushrod and rocker distribution, a solution dear to purists' hearts, designed to fit smoothly into the casings of the previous 175. The bore grew to 68 millimeters, the stroke dropped to 64. Mathematically harmonious proportions, a reminiscence of Mandello's glorious 500. In place of the chain, a gear train transmitted motion to the upper shaft, which moved the rockers through roller levers and rods straight as precision spindles. Valve clearance adjustment was done with screws and nuts, as always. No tricks, no deceit. Materials and external lines remained similar to the 175, but now the intake was silenced with a bulky airbox inside which sat an air filter worthy of the name. With a milder compression ratio, 7.5-1, the new unit released 11 horsepower at 6,000 revolutions per minute. Not racing numbers, but enough to sustain the relaxed pace of touring, for those who wish to roam the world as knights, not sprinters. The seat became a single piece, a luggage rack appeared, and the name Gran Turismo sealed a clear vocation, to accompany, not to challenge. It was launched in February 1959 and, surprisingly, received a warmer welcome than its more exuberant sister. Even in the off-road field, the new engine found fertile ground. Already in '59, alongside the 175 engines, the 235s were mounted. Initially, these were modified touring versions with pushrods and rockers, but it took only a few races to understand that more could be dared. Thus was born the 235 Enduro with overhead camshaft distribution, a 24mm carburetor, and compression raised to 9-1. Power climbed to 14 horsepower at 7,500 revolutions per minute. Numbers that, on muddy mule tracks, made all the difference. 1959 closed in glory with 4 gold medals won at the International 6 Days Trial across the rugged trails of Gottwaldhof in Czechoslovakia. A triumph that bestowed upon the Lodola the status of a worthy warrior of regularity. In 1960, the 235cc version was also put on sale to the public. The official competition variant, reserved for internal riders, grew to 250 cubic centimeters with square dimensions, 68 by 68 millimeters, and boasted a 5-speed gearbox. A technical luxury, an extra weapon on the muddy tracks. Buoyed by good results in enduro races and praised for its endurance against time and fatigue, 2 fundamental virtues for those who choose Moto Guzzi not out of fashion but out of devotion. The Lodola Gran Turismo 235 remained in the lineup until 1966. The racing versions, however, abandoned competitions in 1962, handing over the baton to the 125cc Stornello regularity model, lighter, more agile, better suited to the new demands of the era. Thus ends, or rather gently falls asleep, the arc of the Lodola, a motorcycle born from an era suspended between myth and modernity, between the romantic clang of wrought iron and the relentless rise of plastic and numbers. It was Carlo Guzzi's last lucid thought, a master craftsman of gears and visions, and also his first creation without the horizontal cylinder. A farewell and a beginning, like all living things. The Lodola was never the fastest, nor was it the most coveted in the dazzling shop windows. But it was true. Born for those who do not merely contemplate the engine, but feel it pulse between their legs and under their calloused hands. Born for those who do not race but travel, for those who in the noise of the tightening chain read poetry. For those who know that beauty, like the roar, lies not in perfection but in the hoarse voice of experience. Its glory, shy but stubborn, gathered more in dirt fields than on runways. It ran, yes, it won, but above all, it endured. Gran Turismo, in name and essence, it carried with it the people, the real people. From Ticino to Trasimeno, from the Prealps to the sea-scented promenades where salt and mechanics blend. In 1966, its commercial run came to a halt. No fanfare, no grand farewell, just the silence of a workshop with half-closed shutters, the smell of oil and metal filing still lingering in the air. But those who have had a Lodola or have heard its call know it has never truly disappeared. It waits there in some garage, still ready to growl with dignity, to make the handlebars vibrate as if they were a heartbeat. This is what the Lodola was, and is. Not a motorcycle, but a declaration of love to the earth, the road and the passing time that never truly rusts away. A steel bird that sang last, but whose song still echoes today in the hearts of those who listen to the wind with the headlights off. We stop here and, as always, remind you that for engine parts and rubber components for Guzzi and other vintage motorcycles, you can visit the website thekingofpiston.com. Wheels keep turning, stories remain. Every motorcycle tells a journey and unveils an era. Until the next stop, always on two wheels and with a piece of history to tell.